Greetings ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind DLC review. This of course is a collaborative review and I am joined by Sernoir, some 6,500 miles away in the UK. What's up, Sernoir?
Hey, what's up?
Are you ready to talk about some Morrowind?
Oh yeah, we're ready.
So, over the past month or so, both Sernoir and I, we've been jumping into ESO, into Morrowind, beginning with the early access, and we've got some of those on streams too. We've checked out Battlegrounds as well, so links to all of that will be in the description box below and on the info bar at the top. Also, in terms of the review format, this is going to be a two-part review, guys. So part one is going to take place right here on my channel. We're going to go through some of the content from Morrowind. We're also going to be talking about Battlegrounds, the brand new PvP arena modes. And for part two, it's going to be hosted on Sernoir's channel. And there's links to her channel, again, in the info bar above and in the description box below. So with that said, I guess we're ready to jump in and talk about our experiences with Morrowind. Alright guys, the first thing we are going to be talking about is the Morrowind DLC in general. I mean, we've both played and seen enough of the DLC, so we're going to take turns going over our pros and our cons. And as you watch this and listen and as we move along, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. So I guess I'll go first with some of the pros for Morrowind, having played it so far. I think the first thing that really jumped out at me, the biggest pro, is the step up in quality in terms of quests. From the first few quests that I did, I can tell that the writing is much better. The dialogue, those cutscenes, the NPCs talking to you, everything just feels like this is a real step up in quality. I mean, the stuff that they're saying, the NPCs talking to you, it's you can tell it's really different from like the base game or from some of the DLCs. In terms of the storylines themselves, I really enjoyed the main storyline. I think that without giving away too many spoilers here, there's this city Balmora. I think I talked about this on stream too. I mean, there's this one quest line that had everything in it. You had sneaking elements, you had all the main combat stuff. It's just some of the best quest designs in the base game and in some of the DLCs. All of that was mashed together and put into this one quest chain, which I found to be really exciting. So yeah, that's my first pro. The second pro would be, presentation wise, music and soundtrack in Morrowind is, it's goosebump inducing. And I mean, I was too young for Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, when that came out, so I don't really have that emotional attachment to that game. But growing up and playing Oblivion, playing Skyrim, then you go back and watch videos about Morrowind, whatever, you tend to pick up on a few things, and one of the soundtracks pretty iconic. So to hear a modern iteration of that in ESO, where they kept loyal to that soundtrack, but also adding more modern layers to it, like the choir and everything, that was fantastic. Really loved it. Third pro for me is we both jumped in on June the 6th, which is early access, and I throughout my playthroughs, and you guys have watched it on stream as well, I did not encounter any game-breaking bugs, no glitches. There wasn't a lot of server, well, I shouldn't say a lot, there wasn't any server disconnects. And I also jumped in, sorry, June 6th was the launch, May 23rd I think it was early access. But yeah, I jumped in later when the game launched for everybody, so there's a lot more players online, but still I didn't get disconnected once. So kudos to ZeniMax for a pretty smooth DLC launch. What about you, Serno? What were your pros going through Morrowind DLC?
Well, definitely the story quests. I think I did the same exact question as you in Balmora, and it was good. And I really liked the rewards at the end. I'm not gonna give away too much as well, but it just seemed like almost a better rewards, like something you weren't expecting from a quest reward.
I think I know what you're talking about. It's gonna be in your collection, guys. I'm just gonna say it. It's gonna be in your collections, yeah. And it's gonna be worth doing. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise, and yeah, again, the music and soundtrack are a huge improvement. Again, I didn't personally play the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind either, so I don't have that attachment. But I think the music was almost on the level like of Final Fantasy 14 or something. It was like really good. Like, you had that almost orchestra feel to it, and it just, yeah, stands out a lot more than the original music for sure. And as well, I didn't encounter any bugs so far, and I found that the whole... Did you get that thing where you were sliding off buildings sometimes when you jump on the roof or something?
I did not. I'm not much of a roof jumping player.
Well, for me, I noticed a lot less of that kind of issue, because it was like this, it's kind of like this barrier that they put up technically so people can't jump onto certain objects, and you just like slowly slide and drift down the cliff or something. So they were just like, that's a no-go zone.
I did not
But
know
I
that.
encountered a lot less. Yeah, me neither. Someone told me. They were like, yeah, that's what it is. I'm just like, oh, okay. But I didn't encounter anywhere near as much of that in the new maps, so it's like they've actually gone to the effort of filling out all the textures and making sure you can stand on them. And then the final part is, yeah, again, some of the rewards were a bit interesting. I liked the new ability to travel on the stilt striders, I think they're called.
Oh, yeah.
Did you try that?
I did, and how I discovered it was so funny because I'm standing right next to it, and you know it just made this noise, like this. You know, if you watch the movie War of the Worlds, the big alien machine, you know, makes this weird thundering noise. I'm like, what the hell is that? I looked over and I see this big bug, and I'm like, okay, I recognize that from somewhere. And then you know, I just went up the tower and I took a ride back to Vivek City. And I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, it was yeah, that's how I noticed it as well. It was just like this really eerie noise that just kept happening. It's like, what on earth is that?
That was good. So yeah, you've got stable masters that you know stable where you just use your own horse, or you could, you know, travel with these long-legged bugs or something. So and
yeah, the bug thing.
I believe that this used to be part of the Elder Scrolls 3 as well, so it's just, you know, brought forward here in DLC.
Yeah, it just adds to it again in general. It did kind of disappoint me that we couldn't actually ride on them. It was just like a loading screen.
There was no anime. Yeah, I guess that was what I was expecting, because you know in other MMOs when you take a stable ride or anything, you actually get to see yourself riding the thing. So yeah, I agree with you there.
It could have had like an animation for the loading screen almost, just like start walking away
Too much
from the
work,
tower
I guess.
or something.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
So does that wrap up your pros?
Pretty much, yeah. Obviously the other pro is a new class, but we'll get into that later, I suppose.
Well, that'll be in part 2. Okay,
yes.
Moving on to the cons now. Again, I'll start with my cons. The first one is, and I know this is gonna sound like it's a really minor issue, but for me, because, well, in general, combat is something that you do, I would say 80% in most MMORPGs. Combat is a staple. You know, a mechanic that progresses your story throughout the game and everything else. So in the base game, one of the things that annoyed me was how much ESO reuses its base animation for AI design. You know, when you're fighting, especially humanoids, ESO has this thing where it likes to clump a few enemy classes together. You got the mage, you got the archer, and then you've got the rogue. And you know, the animations that they do is so predictable and it's so repetitive that you already know you know what to expect, and you see it. And with Morrowind, I was kind of hoping that, you know, they would shake things up, and to a certain extent they do. They try and diversify, you know, the mob arrangements. There's a good, I mean, throughout your progression, there's a good mix of fighting creatures, and there's some new creature designs as well, and you're gonna fight humanoids basically. But you know, through my experience, I still ended up feeling the same frustration of just seeing, you know, these enemy AIs do the same thing over and over again. And which brings me to my second con, is that I felt personally that the DLC kind of lacks challenge difficulty in general. And this is something to do with the Warden class as well, that we'll talk about in part 2. But for me, I found Morrowind, even at level 10, playing as a brand new player, and while I got my main character to craft me some level 10 gear, I mean, it's not much, I'm level 10, but still, either because of how ESO scaling works or just the design overall, I felt I wasn't challenged at all that much, even through some of, you know, the dungeons, the solo delves, the main story, the boss fights, they were largely predictable and didn't really offer any challenge, you know, compared to what the base game or other DLCs did. So that was kind of disappointing. What about you, Sernoir? What are your cons?
Well, in addition to those, I agree with the whole challenge part. It doesn't... the scaling, it's good, the scaling. I like it. But at the same time, it's like you don't really progress with levels or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of feel like once you've entered the game and you start doing the story, like there's no real need to level in any way, because it's just like
that.
you just scale in a different way.
Yeah.
And like you don't move on to higher level zones or anything like that. It's just like you can go anywhere, do whatever. There's almost too much freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, but that also means that you can play with whoever you want, whenever you want. There's no restriction on that.
Yeah. And you can see what they're trying to
So
do with
like,
this. They're trying to keep that ESO spirit in place, right? Like you said, they're going to give you the freedom. They're letting you. And I suppose one of the best things about ESO and how they do their DLCs is that they let you start from level 1, essentially. And that's sort of a nice thing. But again, you know, different folks, different strokes. We all expect something different. So yeah, I guess for both of us, challenges is just something we'd like to have.
Yeah. Yeah, we like to have like a good challenge that's also fun, not just like so hard that you just keep dying over and over, like Dark Souls or something.
No, yep.
But yeah, it's that challenge that needs to be there somehow. Like I like the whole one Tamriel thing where they made everything scale to your level. You can start from level 1 to do whatever you want, which is also just really good because you can jump in with your friends straight away. But there are downsides to that as well, like lack of progression, feeling of progression through the game.
Agreed.
And yeah, I would say for the content, I wouldn't say there was quite enough content for the starting price of Morrowind as an upgrade. I have seen some packs recently where it was the base game plus Morrowind for less than the upgrade cost when it first was there as a pre-order, so that's a bit better. But yeah, the content doesn't seem to be there for the price they were asking at first. And also, yeah, just not very much incentive to go to end game once you finish the stories, because again, the combat thing, it's just like, yeah, it's very predictable. There's not enough challenge, so then you get to end game and it's just like not there, I guess.
I kind of see
like,
where
it's more like a story ride.
Yeah, it's sort of it's basically you know, a side story that you go to and you experience, and I guess you may feel this way is that or I should say you may agree with this, is that, you know, this is very much from a marketing point of view, putting out a Morrowind DLC is very much playing on people's nostalgia, you know, people's emotional pull towards the old Morrowind game. That is going to attract a lot of people to come and see, you know, what the MMO version of Morrowind is going to look like. But that doesn't give them, the developers, it doesn't give them the, you know, the incentive or motivation to make this a really big DLC chock full of content. And speaking of big, I know we're going to talk about this later on, but you know, when you look at the map and everything, as we were talking about this earlier, it's huge. But you're right, the content, the map is huge, but the content is spread out, so you actually do a lot more traveling than you do moving from point A to point B to do quests. I mean, what do you think about that?
No, yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I used to play World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 or a previous MMO, and when they released an expansion, it was like massive, almost like a huge addition to the game. I don't know if you ever played World of Warcraft, but their expansions, they cost a lot. Someday. They cost a lot of money when they first come out. You're like, oh man, that's an expensive expansion, I don't know about that. But later when you get them, it's like a huge addition, and it also adds levels to the game, which I think might be something that they messed up on as well. They didn't really add any more extra levels for people that have already maxed out. They just offered a new class to level up with.
You know, that's an interesting point. See, I think both of us, we only started, what, December last year? I'm not sure if the champion point cap increased or not. I know we're stuck at 50, but I'm not sure.
I think it did slightly increase, but yeah, we are still stuck at 50. And a lot of people don't like the whole champion point system. I noticed they reset all of them, and they did, adjusted some of them. Yeah.
I log into my Templar, I'm like, oh shit, I did not take a screenshot or anything. So now I completely lost what my build was, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm so annoyed.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I totally like made it up as well, and then I went to go fight some stuff. I'm like, oh, I feel a lot weaker than I used to. But yeah, that whole system, it's a bit confusing. I mean, I like what they're doing because it is a different way to max out as a max level character, because everyone else is like, oh, this is the level cap, that's what you get.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, why not add this extra champion point system, which is fine. It's just like, what is it, like 600 and something, I think, at the minute.
Yeah, I can see how that can be a grind. And for you guys watching, I know we're diving into base game territory here, but you know, expect to see this come up a lot in throughout this review, because it is related to ESO. So yeah, with the whole champion point thing, I can see how it's gonna be a grind for like a solitary player. I really like the idea behind it, because you know, if somebody has like a lot of alts and you spend all that time, you know, leveling and gearing that one character, at least you can spend the champion points in your alt, and you know, that's what I applaud the system for.
Yeah,
but yeah,
really
I can see what happens when you know, when you hit that ceiling, when you hit that yeah, basically when you hit the cap, then there's nothing else to progress, and players just, you know, just move on, I suppose.
Yeah, the other thing I noticed as well was the whole item level of clothing, like armor and stuff. It doesn't surpass item champion 160, and I don't think they increased that either. So it's like this whole time you still have the same item level gear for like all these expansions. So you've never gotten to get past 160, even though the champion point range is like 600.
Right.
And I wonder if they're gonna ever increase it to match the champion point level that you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my only thing. Like, obviously with a new expansion you'd expect better gear. There's some extra sets that came out, I think, some extra content for grouping up and stuff, like a new raid, I think, and 3 dungeons. But as for the gear, it's all stayed the same item level.
You would have probably gotten something similar or better in the base game or in any other DLCs or, you know, the dungeons there. So I see what you're trying to say. There should have been like Morrowind specific type rewards. I think that would have been cool. That also boosts like the CP.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah, like if you complete certain content, then you get extra CP for it or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I would totally sign on for that. So ZeniMax, you take notes.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So that's our pros and cons of Morrowind DLC as a whole. If you've got anything to add to that, for those of you that have already played Morrowind, and pros, cons, start listing them in the comment section below. We are going to be moving on to the second thing we're going to be talking about in part 1 of this Morrowind DLC review, and that's the brand new PvP Battlegrounds. Woo! For the unknown, it is a I keep mixing tree and 3. I have this problem all the time. I'm gonna try 3 versus 3 versus 3. So there's 3 groups of 4 players. Wait, did I say that right? No, it's 4 versus 4 versus 4.
Oh yeah.
I got it mixed up.
4v4. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, guys. It's been a long day. Yeah, 4v4v4. There's 3 different game modes. There's you know, free for all, which is just basically everyone's for themselves, go kill stuff. And then there's Dominion, which is turning out to be one of my favorite modes. And the last one is basically capture the flag, I think it was, but it's more of capture the relic, so I'm just gonna call it capture the relic.
Yeah, capture the relic.
And Sernoir and I, we jumped in for a stream this one day, and man, we got our butts handed to us. It was painful to rewatch that. But yeah, we've played it some, and so let's go ahead and go through our pros and cons. We're gonna start with Sernoir this time. You're gonna go ahead share your pros for Battlegrounds.
All right. Well, I did like the fact that you did get a reward of a skill point with each Battleground at the end.
Yep, which totally confused me. Totally confused me. I remember we were like, where'd this come from?
Yeah, it was totally random, and every time we completed one, we got an item in the mail for a new gear, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
It was like blue quality, so it was PvP gear that you got automatically, which was cool. I like the rewards, even though you lost. I wonder if you win, if you get a better one or not.
Yeah.
And the other thing is just an extra variety of PvP battlegrounds. For those that are into PvP or stuck in Cyrodiil the whole time with the massive battlegrounds, always trying to find where the fight was and always trying to compete with like massive catapults and stuff, and it's just a bit out of control. So for those more casual PvPers, then this is a really good option for them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and you still get your butt kicked anyway, so be prepared to gear up for that.
Yeah. I'm just, jumping into my pros, very similar to Sernoir. I believe that it's a great addition. I mean, it's something that, correct me if I'm wrong, but the PvP player base has been asking for it a long time. I mean, most MMORPGs, they do things the other way around, with the exception to games like Lord of the Rings Online, for example, that, you know, their PvP came as the whole large world thing. But for me, I really like PvPs that come with the small arena fights to complement the bigger, you know, open world, Zerg v Zerg, whatever you want to call it. So jumping into Battlegrounds for the first time was such a refreshing thing, because it's great fast-paced actions. Matches don't last longer than, gosh, I want to say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It was really pretty
no longer
quick.
than 10.
Yeah, no longer than 10. It was pretty quick. And it launched with the 3 modes that I talked about, and while some of them are just like, you know, a button mashing fest, which I'm sure a lot of people like. I mean, hell, I like it. If I'm in a good group, that is. I still think that they have to keep adding more modes and more maps, because as it is with PvP and arena, you know, Battlegrounds or whatever, in the MMO space, if you leave it stagnant for too long, everybody's just gonna get bored. And I've actually seen in chat somebody was like, I'm bored of this shit. You know, I'm going back to Cyrodiil, and this thing's only been out for like what, less than a month. But it's still a great addition, especially. I mean, there are lots of us, like for myself included, who, you know, I go out to Cyrodiil solo because I'm usually kind of shy. I don't really go into groups or ask my guild to come hang out with me, whatever. And, you know, it gets tiring sometimes. As Sernoir was saying, you gotta ride to the front lines, you can look at the map, keep opening the map, see where it's getting attacked and whatever, and you make your way there, and then you die, and then you restart the whole process. And Battlegrounds is just nice to have to, you know, break the leveling monotony and just do something different. But that's the good parts. Now we're gonna go to the bad parts about Battlegrounds. Again, Sernoir, you're gonna start with your cons.
Alright, so I definitely think the Battlegrounds, when Morrowind came... okay, hold on. When Morrowind came out, they should have been available to everyone. Like, everyone. Because right now, there's just not enough people to supply it, almost. And you just keep seeing... Well, as Adrian will say, probably, you just keep seeing the same names pop up every time you join in. So, as that thing, it should have just been part of the game as a whole, rather than specific to Morrowind. And I think they tried to keep it like that because it adds more value to the expansion, so people would buy it.
Yep.
But it's just kind of not fair to a lot of people either.
It is, and oh, sorry. Did you have anything else to add?
Well, it's going to be the same point as you with the whole lack of experience when you finish it. Like, you do get the items, which is good, but the experience is so low that it's not worth doing it as a leveling thing, even though it does break up the monotony of leveling.
Yeah, and that was really disappointing, because that night or evening when Sernoir and I were both streaming the PvP, the one goal that we wanted to show you guys on stream was whether or not Battlegrounds was actually a viable way to level your characters if you're starting from like level 10 or whatever. And by the way, you only get access to Battlegrounds at level 10, and if you have the Morrowind DLC. So that's what we did. We got up to 10, and then we jumped in. And unfortunately, as Sernoir was saying, the experience rewards for completing one, win, draw, lose, apparently is not enough. It barely... I think we both played 3 matches that night, and we didn't even hit halfway to level 11 or whatever. It was just really little in XP, which is really disappointing, because for those of us that love to PvP, we like having the option of, okay, I'm not gonna do this region for questing, I've already done that on my main character, I want to level up my ult just by doing Battlegrounds. That should be a viable option, and it's sadly not. So the alternative is you just gotta pop some, you know, potions or whatever, XP potions, and jump into Battleground, which is kind of pointless anyway. So yeah, definitely agree with
Or the other option is leveling in Cyrodiil, which if you've done already, then it's not going to be very new for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that never worked for me. It's like pick up a quest, kill 10 rogues, or not rogues.
Oh,
or,
yeah.
What are they called? Nightblades. Yeah,
Nightblades, yeah.
And I will go there and I can barely kill one.
Mine was like kill 20 sorcerers.
Oh dear. Oh
like,
god.
What?
Well, I need a rate of 20 sorcerers to help me kill a sorcerer. That's how underpowered I am.
That's pretty much the same story for me.
So yeah, the second con is again similar to what Sernoir was saying. Battlegrounds, I feel, should be available to all players regardless of whether they bought Morrowind or not. Because from what I've experienced so far jumping in, you know, the pool of players that Battlegrounds, you know, the pool of players that they pick from in the queue is small. Basically, it's just people who bought the expansion or the DLC, and I keep seeing the same names over and over again. And or maybe if not all, then maybe just make one map and one mode free for all players. That way, you know, it sort of entices them to check out Battlegrounds, and if it's something they like, then they're more than likely gonna spend money on, you know, getting the or unlocking the other modes and maps. So yeah, that's my 2 cents of that. And the third con is this is just from experience. I don't really see like a real punishment for AFKers and harassers. One match in Dominion that I was playing, was it Dominion or Domination? I'm just gonna Domination. Let's call it
Domination.
Dominion. See, I'm getting this mixed up. There's one guy in my team who just as soon as we lost the lead and we dropped to like second place or whatever, this guy just AFK'd for a good 2 to 3 minutes, and then the match ended, but he did not get booted out or anything. I don't know if there's some sort of like a punishment or, you know, a kicking mechanic. I don't see it, and that just makes me worried that there's going to be a lot of people who's going to, you know, exploit that, or, you know, as soon as they start, you know, losing or whatever, they're just going to AFK, which kind of sucks. So if there isn't a mechanic in place to get rid of AFKers, I do hope they include one soon, because from what I've seen in other MMOs, it's not a good thing. You need to fix that ASAP.
Oh yeah. Griefing is not good. Not good for the game.
So guys, that is our Battlegrounds pros and cons. Again, if you are an active ESO PvPer and you've been, you know, blazing your way through Battlegrounds, what are your pros, what are your cons? Leave them in the comments section below. And that wraps up part 1 of our ESO Morrowind DLC review. I'm doing this as a collaboration effort with Sernoir. And part 2, as we mentioned at the beginning of this video, will take place on Sernoir's channel. Links to that, again, above and in the description box below. So head on over there right now and watch what we have to say about the Warden class, if Morrowind is good value for money, and our final thoughts about the DLC. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe to both our channels, and I'll see you guys we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh, pardon me, hello there. You've reached the end screen of the video. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel and get notifications on the latest videos, click the button in the middle to subscribe to this plunker. If you'd like to watch more MMO top 10s, click the playlist to the right. For a completely random video, click the video on the left. Thank you for your kind consideration. My name is not Edward and I'm not from the UK. Goodbye.